Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, Humanistic Psychology and its Impact on Mental Health. I'm excited to talk about two foundational figures in psychology, Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. Both theorists made significant contributions to the mental health field through their humanistic approach, focusing on personal growth, motivation, and empathy. Their work helped shift the focus of psychology away from illness and pathology and toward understanding what it means to be fully human. Carl Rogers was born in 1902 in Oak Park, Illinois. He grew up in a strict religious household that emphasized discipline and moral structure. This background likely influenced his later emphasis on acceptance and unconditional positive regard as essential for psychological growth. Originally, Rogers pursued agriculture, then studied theology, but he later shifted his focus to psychology, eventually earning a PhD at Columbia University. He began his career working with children and became a pioneer in clinical psychology and counseling. Abraham Maslow was born in 1908 in Brooklyn, New York, to Jewish immigrant parents from Russia. He experienced social isolation and discrimination growing up, which may have sparked his later interest in understanding what allows humans to flourish. Maslow initially studied law, but like Rogers, he found his calling in psychology. He completed his degree at the University of Wisconsin, which he studied under Harry Harlow, known for his research on attachment in monkeys. Maslow went on to teach at Brandeis University, where he developed much of his influential theory. Carl Rogers is best known for developing person-centered therapy. This approach centers on the belief that people have an inherent drive towards self-actualization or realizing their full potential. Rogers believed that a person could grow and change when they are in a relationship characterized by three essential conditions: empathy, unconditional positive regard, and congruence or genuineness. In practical terms, this means the therapist must deeply understand the client's feelings, accept them without judgment, and be authentic in the therapeutic relationship. For example, instead of giving advice, a Rogers-based therapist might reflect the client's feeling and says, "It sounds like you're feeling really discouraged and unheard." This helps the client explore their own emotions safely and take steps towards healing. Abraham Maslow, meanwhile, is best known for his hierarchy of needs, a motivational theory represented as a pyramid. At the base are physiological needs like food and water, followed by safety needs like shelter and stability. Next are love and belonging needs, which include relationships and social connection. Above that are esteem needs, which refer to self-worth and achievement. And at the very, very top is self-actualization, the realization of one's full potential. Maslow describes self-actualized people as those who are creative, authentic, purpose-driven, and able to accept themselves and others. He used historical figures like Eleanor Roosevelt and Albert Einstein as examples. Both Rogers and Maslow profoundly changed the field of mental health. Rogers transformed the therapeutic process by shifting the role of a therapist from an expert to a collaborator. We show up as partners, not experts. He believed the client, not the therapist, was the expert in their own life. This was radical at the time and helped lay the foundation for more empathetic, client-centered approaches that are still widely used today. Maslow's hierarchy introduced a holistic way of thinking about mental health. Instead of focusing only on symptoms, his model encouraged therapists to consider the full spectrum of a person's need and strength. It also influenced fields like education, leadership, workplace development, encouraging environments that promote personal growth rather than simply compliance. While both theorists emphasize individual growth, their models reflect values rooted in Western individualism, especially personal autonomy, self-direction, and internal fulfillment. In Western cultures, the idea of finding oneself or becoming your best self is celebrated. However, in collectivist cultures, identity is often shaped by one's roles within family and community. Self-actualization might not be the ultimate goal, rather fulfilling duties to one's group or elders might carry more meaning. That raises important questions. Can Maslow's hierarchy be rearranged based on cultural values? Should self-actualization look the same for everyone? These are ongoing discussions in cross-cultural psychology. It is important to recognize that while both Rogers and Maslow offered groundbreaking ideas in their time, their theories were primarily developed based on observations of white, middle-class, Western individuals. This presents a significant systemic bias, as their models may unintentionally exclude or misrepresent the experiences of people from marginalized backgrounds. For example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs assumes a relatively stable environment where basic physiological and safety needs can be met. But for many individuals, especially those growing up in under-resourced communities affected by systemic racism, generational poverty, or ongoing violence, those foundational needs may never be fully secure. In these cases, self-actualization may seem out of reach, not because of a personal failing, but because of structural barriers. Consider a young black woman growing up in a neighborhood where schools are underfunded, housing is unstable, and access to quality health care is limited. Her daily energy might be spent managing survival, caring for siblings, avoiding police harassment, or navigating microaggressions at work or school. Asking her to focus on personal fulfillment or authenticity without acknowledging those realities will be both unethical and unrealistic. Similarly, Carl Rogers' concept of congruence, the alignment between one's internal experience and external expression, can be much harder to achieve for individuals who must constantly code switch, suppress parts of their identity, or endure environments that invalidate their lived experiences. For example, LGBTQ plus youth, undocumented immigrants, or people living with racialized trauma, being authentic may carry real risk. In such cases, congruence must be approached with nuance and cultural humility. Because Rogers and Maslow did not account for these systemic influences, their theories risk promoting a kind of colorblind or class-blind humanism that, while well-meaning, it actually fails to capture the full psychological reality of people facing oppression. As psychologists today, it's critical that we apply these theories through a culturally responsive lens, one that honors clients' intersecting identities, lived experiences, and social context. Despite these biases, Rogers' emphasis on client autonomy, confidentiality, and unconditional positive regard has become foundational in modern ethical therapy. His belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person aligns with ethical guidelines such as informed consent, non-maleficence, and respect for clients' cultural identities. Maslow's model, however, should be applied with caution. It can become ethically problematic if practitioners impose Western ideas of self-fulfillment on clients from different cultural backgrounds. For example, suggesting that a collectivist client put themselves first may unintentionally invalidate their values. Culturally competent practice or culturally aware practice means adapting the hierarchy to the client's worldview and not the other way around. When these theories were introduced in the mid-20th century, they served as a humanistic alternative to more rigid and deterministic models of psychoanalysis and behaviorism. While Freud emphasized unconscious drives and Skinner focused on observable behaviors, Rogers and Maslow believed that people are capable of change, insight, and growth when given the right support. Today, their influence is still visible across therapy modalities, especially in motivational interviewing, trauma-informed care, education, leadership, and coaching. Positive psychology, which focuses on flourishing rather than dysfunction, also draws heavily from Maslow and Rogers. I personally resonate with both theorists. Their belief in human potential, empathy, and authenticity deeply aligns with why I chose to pursue a career in mental health. Rogers' emphasis on unconditional positive regard reminds me that clients are not problems to be fixed, they are people to be heard. I also enjoy how Maslow's focus on higher level needs helped me stay mindful that wellness involves more than symptom reduction. It includes connection, purpose, and personal meaning. In my future work as an emerging clinician, I plan to apply Rogers' person-centered approach to create spaces where clients feel genuinely seen, safe, and respected. This means listening without judgment, being emotionally present, and trusting the client's inner wisdom. At the same time, I will use Maslow's hierarchy as a flexible guide, not a rigid structure. For example, if a client is experiencing homelessness, I won't push for emotional insight before helping connect them to basic resources. But if a client has stability and is searching for deeper meaning, I can support them in exploring their personal goals, creative pursuits, or a sense of purpose. Also, as a current clinical social worker, Maslow and Rogers, we use a lot of their work as far as the core values of social work, and a client's right to self-determination is a core social work value. To conclude, Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow offer transformative ideas that reshaped how we think about mental health. Their theories centered on empathy, motivation, and the innate drive towards personal growth. While their models are not without limitations, they laid the groundwork for compassionate, culturally adaptable, and client-centered care. Their emphasis on the dignity and worth of all people continues to inspire therapists, educators, and leaders around the world. As we move forward in psychology, their ideas remind us to see the whole person, not just their diagnosis, and to believe in every person's capacity for growth and healing. Thank you for listening.